Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to mismapasion. And well, look at that. It's been a while, hasn't it? It feels like an eternity since the last time we congregated here on this platform, but I'm glad you're here, and I hope you're glad I'm here too. And you know what that means, of course. The final international break of the season has come and gone, which means we are now officially in the run-in of the WSL. So let's get right into the thick of things, starting with the midweek clash at the Emirates. Arsenal took on Leicester City in a profound encounter that was crucial for both sides, contending on diametrically opposed sides of the table. The Gunners were also looking to get some momentum in before their crucial encounter against Lyon in the Champions League semi-final, so that, in addition to aspirations on further whittling down Chelsea's lead at the top of the table, meant that the Gunners had a lot going on for them in this match, with Leicester also trying to stave off relegation. Luckily for the Gunners though, Leicester offered up little to no challenge to the hosts as they were routinely picked apart and decimated by an Arsenal side who absolutely ran wild on the night. Caitlin Ford and Frida Monum struck in the first half, with the former grabbing a brace to give the home side a healthy lead, which is compounded upon in the second half, courtesy of a header from Beth Mead, who was really in her stride in this game, and a wonderful moment in the game came from a goal scored by the recently returning Victoria Pelova, who continued her road back into match sharpness following her extended timeout due to an ACL injury. Arsenal ran out worthy 5-1 winners over the Foxes, and the Gunners definitely looked every bit of the top team they are, which will certainly help them in their own run-in. The WSL action will resume on the weekend, which is also intertwined with the aforementioned Champions League matches, which I will cover in a separate video because back on English tides, fellow title chasers Manchester United had an afternoon trip away to West Ham in an encounter that promised quite the drama on paper. On the pitch, it was more or less the same as well, as both teams were up for it, with United expectedly being on top of proceedings, albeit not as comfortable as West Ham, weren't allowing themselves to be overrun and offered up their own attacking nous, exemplified to the likes of Uweki. United though were undeterred and came close on a few occasions to scoring, but Shemek stood firm for the Hammers in between the sticks, with Fallon Tullis Choice doing her best to match up on the opposite ends of things. For all their effort, United really struggled to carve something up for themselves as the hosts did well to marshal them away from the danger areas, thus leaving the Red Devils to resort to regularly crossing the ball in, which though effective was not sufficient enough, and for the Hammers, they too did not find too much joy going forward, as not only were their opportunities limited, but decidedly lackluster, as the match would end in a stalemate, which is an apt description of the game we saw, because neither team really provided an edge to come out victorious, which is more detrimental to United's hopes of keeping pace with Chelsea and now Arsenal, whereas West Ham find themselves in mid-table mediocrity, with not too much at stake as of yet for the London outfit, but if they do not start getting a little bit better in terms of form, they might just find themselves in a relegation dogfight. The next Saturday kickoff was Brighton and Hove Albion taking on Liverpool, with both sides looking for some semblance of good form given how middling their recent performances had become in the league, especially for the Seagulls. Unfortunately for the home side though, their misery endured as Liverpool almost immediately went ahead after kickoff, with Olivia Smith leading just the first 90 seconds of the game to open the scoring and give Liverpool the lead. The Reds maintained their dominance throughout the half and honestly should have gone ahead on more than one occasion, as Brighton's backline were out to lunch, and that was particularly exemplified with Liverpool's second goal, where the hosts were abjectly disjointed, which was capitalized on by Hobinger, who set it up on a silver platter for Leanne Kiernan to put away going into the second half. And whatever cobwebs were hindering the home side in the first half, they looked to have finally been shaken off, as the second 45 saw Brighton come out swinging, with Arsenal loanee Michelle Agyemang latching onto a great cross from Seke to pull one back for the home team. Despite conceding early on, Liverpool maintained their intensity from the first half, but Brighton this time were able to match them and came close on more than one occasion to drawing things level. But Liverpool were able to hold out and hang on to their narrow lead to seal all 3 points and turn their form around, which will hopefully aid them in the remaining matches of the campaign, whereas Brighton continued to search for a lifeline to rescue themselves and try to finish the season on a more positive note. The action rolled on to Sunday, where Manchester City welcomed Everton to a match that was more even than you'd usually expect, which was somewhat down to the injury bug the home side have been afflicted with Mary Fowler in particular being afflicted with an ACL injury recently, and I wish her the best in her recovery. But going on to the game, and there honestly was not too much to write home about, as the match was as predictable as you'd expect given the teams, with City nabbing an early goal courtesy of a header from Kasparai, who was completely unmarked and could do no wrong to give the home side the lead, which is really poor from Everton considering how usually they are very defensively solid. But luckily for the Toffees, Man City's lead would not last for long, as Everton would soon respond with the most oddly satisfying goal you will ever see, as not only did the Toffees fullbacks combine to score, but they caused City goalie Keating to see double, as Sarah Holmgard crossed the ball into the danger zone for her twin sister Karen Holmgard to latch on and head home to level the scoring for the Toffees. It was a goal so nice that even the match highlights had to play it twice, and honestly speaking, that was the biggest highlight of the match because not much else happened in terms of goals or really memorable moments apart from the Holmgard twins combining again to nearly score, but it was not meant to be as both teams would settle for a draw, which was a fair result for both sides in all honesty, which I doubt either of them would be unhappy with. Sunday's action rounded off with a quite good encounter with some really dire consequences at the bottom of the table, as Aston Villa took a trip southeast to London to take on Tottenham, with the Villains needing a result to maintain their stride in a bid to stave off relegation. The Villains had all the motivation they required, and soon they made it manifest with a slew of attacking opportunities early on that finally yielded a goal from birthday girl Anna Patton, who headed home from a rebound to give the away side the deserving lead. Villa's persistence would maintain in the second half, and the effort would pay off once again against the run of play, as Ebony Salmon was let loose with a virtually free path to goal, which she made sure to capitalize on to give Villa the goal for security. Unfortunately for the Birmingham outfit, the insurance would not pay out, as Spurs would not score once but twice in the space of just 5 minutes, with Jessica Naz and Ella Morris nullifying all Villa's hard work to this point. Villa were the architects of their own downfall, as they just lost concentration when it was needed most, with the second goal in particular exemplifying this to the point that their goalkeeper D'Angelo was caught out trying to clear the ball after a Spurs counterattack, but as we all know, that just ended in tears. It would go down to the wire with both teams doing their utmost to try and get all 3 points. Spurs for the satisfaction of adding a nail to the coffin of Villa's hopes of staying in WSL for another season, and for Villa to maintain a stranglehold on their fleeting hopes of survival. And finally, in the last match of this game week, Chelsea took on Crystal Palace in yet another midweek fixture, thanks to the Champions League for that. And in this match, it pretty much was one-way traffic from the beginning, with Chelsea running out imperious and dominant 4-0 winners over bottom basement dwellers. Unfortunately, I hate to say that. Crystal Palace, who have been, as you might have known when you watch some of these videos that I've made throughout the season, one of the most tenacious and exciting sides to watch, but their inexperience has really shone on so many occasions, particularly this one, because Chelsea just dominated, with the current holders of the WSL title running out 4-0 winners, with Guro Reiten, Katerina Macario with 2, and my official all getting on the score sheet, and Palace not really covering themselves in any glory whatsoever, whether you look at the statistics or the overall gameplay, because they got dominated. They didn't have a single shot in the entire game, let alone on target. The possession, it was all the way in Chelsea's favor. With the passes, Chelsea, just by my own count of watching the game, they made at least double the passes that Crystal Palace made. And just to top off the misery for Crystal Palace, Alison Swaby got herself taken off. So it was not the best showing for Crystal Palace, who are pretty much all but guaranteed to be relegated from the WSL, barring a very, very severe miracle. Whereas Chelsea, they're just a few games away from sealing their 6th title in the end of the season as the run-in continues. And with match week 19 concluded, this is the current lay of the land according to the WSL table, with relegation still pretty much on the cards for Aston Villa and Leicester City, and just a little bit Tottenham, so that's, I think, something that's worth taking a look at. West Ham and Everton themselves, they're not too far away from being dragged into a belated dogfight, but I think they'll be fine, at least when you look at their performances in the last couple of matches that they've had. Whereas at the top end of things, it is literally just a two-horse race, of which the horse that's in second is quite a ways away, with Arsenal being 6 points away from Chelsea, with the goal difference being tied between the two sides. So when it comes to the WSL title, it is really a matter of seeing who is going to blink first. Is it going to be Chelsea who will drop points some way, somehow, or is it Arsenal who will drop points? Because either way, if any one of these two teams drop points, it's going to be an advantage for the other one. Chelsea, they are in very good form alongside Arsenal. When it comes to the form on the last 5 matches, Arsenal in better form, but Chelsea, remember, are still yet to be beaten. So this is definitely a run-in to tune into. And that will be it for today's video. Please let me know in the comments which match you enjoyed the most and anything else that might be on your mind concerning the run-in or the Champions League fixtures that I will cover at the end of the second leg that is going to be played out this coming weekend. But other than that, if you enjoyed the video, please make sure to like, share, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.